Hello and welcome. I am the Rambling Director, and today I want to talk to you about another missed opportunity. I recently did a video about the Halloween saga, the Michael Myers horror stories, which just seem to get sillier and sillier with each incarnation and each sequel. And I sort of talked about the missed opportunities of those movies and how they could have been better, and I wanted to do the same thing again today. It's going to be a shorter one than usual because this really is just one single missed opportunity that I want to talk about. But it's actually a really big one that's bothered me for years. My favorite Disney animated feature film is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I know that it's gained a bit of a following in recent years, but when I was growing up, it was not a popular Disney film. It was one that I really found myself in a minority of people even liking it. I know many of my friends and even some of my older family members often said that they thought it was too dark. But that's what I loved about it. It was such a dark, rich Gothic story, and they kept it a dark, rich Gothic story. Unlike all the times that they don't do that. And although it has picked up a following in recent years, I still hear people complaining about the one thing that most people seem to agree is bad, or at least not as good as the rest of the film. The Gargoyles. Now, personally, I don't mind the Gargoyles for about 50 to 70% of the movie. In fact, I actually kind of like them. And that's why I don't think that this is a bad choice on Disney's part. I don't think Disney should not have had the Gargoyles there. I just think it was a missed opportunity. I think they could have done it better, and instead of just at you the way a lot of YouTubers do now, where they just tell you how much something sucked in a movie, I want to actually try to fix it. So let me give you just a little bit of an idea as to what I think would have made the Gargoyles work. Now, of course, that means I'm starting from a position of saying that, in my opinion, I don't think the Gargoyles worked the way they were supposed to. I don't think that they brought the comedic relief they were even supposed to bring, because they were so overblown that it was a little bit distracting. I've never really heard anybody mention the comparison before, but when I first saw the trolls in Frozen, my mind instantly went, oh, these are the Gargoyles. These are the Gargoyles from Hunchback. And you didn't learn your lesson, Disney. You didn't learn your lesson. I felt sort of like that fish in SpongeBob who's like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? It's funny to me that they would make a set of characters that was so similar, and just like the Gargoyles, they derail the entire movie for no reason. But I actually think that you even could have kept the song in there, which again derails the entire movie. The song does not tonally fit with any other song that comes before it or after it. So the song is there, most of their lines stay the same. But we're going to change two things, and that I think would have made the Gargoyles work. Number one, the Gargoyles cannot be real. I was always really peeved, even as a child, watching Hunchback, because the Gargoyles start interacting with the real world. They are moving stuff is happening. There is no way you can argue that they are in his imagination. They are moving things, they are attacking people, their actions have direct consequences on the real world. I don't buy the idea that, oh no, it was all in his head and he was actually doing all that stuff. We see him in other locations doing other things simultaneously. No, the Gargoyles were real, they were magic, they really existed. I don't know why. The reason that I say the Gargoyles shouldn't have been real, and why I think it would have been a lot better, is because Quasimodo is alone. He must be alone. He must have no friends. Frollo must be the only person that he interacts with before Esmeralda. There is no other way of telling the story. The reason that I think it would have been better if the Gargoyles were very clearly made out not to be real. Say, for instance, we cut out all of their interactions in the battle scene, and we just had that moment where they step over and they tell Quasimodo he has to do it on his own, and they turn back to stone. Let's say that was the last time they were in the movie and we never saw them again. That would have been a lot better. Just cut out some of the scenes in the battle sequence at the end and just have them turn to stone and Quasimodo has to do it himself. that would have actually driven home the message that they, I think, were trying to get across a lot better. So why do I want Quasimodo to be alone? I mean, am I just a sadist? Well, yes, but that's not the reason why. I want Quasimodo to be alone because it makes his story more tragic. And if the Gargoyles are real to him in a sentimental sort of way, they were the only friends he ever had because he had to make his own friends, that works a lot better. But as is, it takes away from his loneliness. The best example I can think of is one that, honestly, most of you haven't probably seen. If you ever heard of the Hammer production company, Hammer made a lot of horror movies, mostly involving Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and they remade a lot of classic monster movies. Fantastic movies I love, and actually have built a pretty firm collection of, which, by the way, is kind of weird. I don't know why I don't have them on this shelf so that you guys can see them. I may fix that in the future, because actually there's some of the cooler DVDs I own, and it was really hard to collect them all. Hammer did a version of the Phantom of the Opera with Herbert Lom playing the Phantom, who, if you don't know him, go look him up. He's a great actor. Very funny, too. But in that version of the Phantom story, they give him a sidekick sort of character, who is a little person who lives with him in his lair. And it doesn't work. You actually can see the correlation there, because they're both deformed Parisians. But they both have to be alone. That is the tragedy of their character, is because of their deformity, they must be alone. And when you start giving them these sidekick characters that take away from their loneliness, you're taking away their suffering, and they have to suffer. I know Disney doesn't really usually like to make their characters suffer, and I understand. You know, it's a kid's movie, but at the same time, I think kids can take it if it was just in his imagination. Kids play with stuffed animals and toys. They know they're not real, but they do attach the sentimental value to those things. So they would understand it, and they would understand the idea of Quasimodo getting over his need for this security blanket of these gargoyle characters, so that when he goes out into the real world, it really is a lot bigger of a moment, because he's not been accepted by any company. And so to leave the gargoyles behind completely, and then at the end, when it pans back, don't have the gargoyles move and talk when Quasimodo's not even around. Leave them stone, and you could close on the image of them being stone as sort of a finality to the fact that he doesn't need them anymore. That would have been a really beautiful ending. But as it is, I think that their decision to make the gargoyles clearly have their own life, it just doesn't work. So that was missed opportunity number one. The gargoyles should not been real. Gosh, I don't know what happened just then, but my words... Gargoyles! The gargoyles! The gargoyles must not be... I sound like Bernie Sanders. Number two. The gargoyles are so judgmental that it's kind of insulting. Your whole story is about accepting people for what they are and who they are, exactly the way they are. And yet, your entire movie, you have these assholes running around who are constantly making judgments about people and things based on their physical appearance, including each other. And I know that really the fact that they should have been fake. They should have been just stone. It should have all been in his imagination. I love the fact that when Frollo walks in, they're all stone, and you think, oh, he's like coming out of this little delusion. I know that should have been. That should have been the thing that I think is the biggest missed opportunity, but it's not. I could actually have dealt with that because it's still a Disney movie, and so sure, okay, the gargoyles are magically alive for whatever reason. I don't, it's a very religiously based film, so I don't know, maybe God gave these gargoyles a soul just so Quasimodo wouldn't be lonely. I don't know. I don't understand exactly what the point was in that, but I could accept it. What I cannot accept is the whole movie is about how Quasimodo, you want to feel bad for him, and you should feel bad for him, entirely because he is ugly. And he has no friends because of it. I mean, the moment when the crowd turns on him at the Festival of Fools is so tragic because of that. He finally thought he was going to be accepted. The world wasn't such a bad place, only to have everything Frollo said turn out to be true. But why would it even affect him when he is surrounded by the biggest bunch of assholes I've ever seen? Why can the gargoyles never be nice? Why are they always passing judgments based on people's looks? Based on not even their character, but on their looks. They're always calling each other fat and stupid and slobs. And one of them draws a picture of Esmeralda and is like, you know, I don't even know what to say, except that is what makes the Gargoyles such a missed opportunity for me. I don't hate them. There's sometimes I find them actually funny. There's sometimes I really love the really sad, poetic moments of people coming in and the Gargoyles being stone. And he's the only one who sees them move. I like that idea. It's just those two things that, had they been fixed, would have taken the Hunchback from what I think is already a great and underrated movie to a really, really brilliant movie. Because it wouldn't have been afraid to push just a little further into the darkness. The darkness of somebody who is so lonely that they have deluded themselves into believing they have friends. The loneliness of that is such a dark, twisted idea, and I would have liked to see it explored in this universe, because this is a really great version of the story. It's not a very good adaptation. It changes almost everything. But then again, most of my favorite versions of the Hunchback story actually do change a ton of stuff. The version with Charles Laughton is probably my very favorite, and it changes almost everything. So ultimately what I'm getting at is that while I do love the story, I do see what people are talking about when they say that they hate the Gargoyles. While I don't hate them myself, I just think that they are a big missed opportunity. And to see them do the same thing with the trolls. Guys, you can't derail your whole story like this. It's just bad storytelling. I know it's a little thing, but it's weighed on me since I was a kid, and I just wanted to get it out there for other people. So that's all I have for today. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.